Hello there, Big Benedict here. We're playing Gears 5, and this is my insane difficulty guide and walkthrough. I will be taking you through the entire campaign solo, and I will be including all of the side missions that take place in Acts 2 and 3. So here we go at the beginning of the campaign, and they start you off with the normal weapons that you get, the Gnasher and the Lancer. So what I would do, I would highly recommend you take the long shot off of Kate and switch if you want to. The second one isn't that mandatory, but if you want to switch out for the custom Lancer, you'll have a little bit more bullets at the beginning. The one who has the custom Lancer is Marcus, your Papa John. He's the one that's hoarding the custom Lancer, so you can switch it with him. And I'm almost certain it carries the same amount of ammunition, but custom Lancer is just a little bit better off for you right here. 250, yeah, it's not much better. You get 50 more bullets. It's not a big deal, but early on in the game it might be helpful to some folks. So Gay of War 5, the Jackson 5 guys. How do you like Gay of War Judgment 5? Pretty good. Well, Act 1 and 4 are terrific. It's just that the second and the third acts, if you've played this campaign, you know that they open up in non-traditional Gears ways, and you're riding a sled, and it's kind of, it slows everything down and makes the acts more bloated, and it really makes you appreciate the simplicity of these linear, straightforward missions that definitely have a lot more creativity to them and absolute beautiful set pieces. They truly do. So not much goes on at the beginning. It's definitely better to have the long shot than the Gnasher. The Gnasher I never use ever. I don't see the utility of using it because the closer you are to enemies, the more likely you are that you're going to get killed, and the Gnasher requires you to get up close to the enemies. So it doesn't make sense. I don't know why they don't just take that weapon out of the game or just stop giving it to people. But we've got some ammunition over here. There's also a bolt-lock that I found over here to the left. You can replace your snub with that if you want to. I think I would recommend doing that. The only time I use a snub in this campaign is when I get the relic snub that fires 2 bullets at once. So it has twice the fire rate of the regular snub. And I will be using some of the relic weapons because they're fun. And I've got to tell you too, I was really disappointed on this first chapter of Act 1 because I broke it several times by killing the Harambe too quickly and not letting the game drop in my supply forces. And I'll talk about it in a minute. It's something that didn't happen to me until I did my walkthrough, but it was really disappointing. So at the beginning here, you can do a stealth kill on that first one and then start getting your headshots. I do have aim assist on, and I've got to tell you, it's like this game has headshot forgiveness because some of the headshots that you get, they're not even close, but the game still gives them to you. So I guess that's one way for the game to help out people who are using just the control pad like I'm using, which is not as precise as a mouse and keyboard, but it definitely is easier than normal to get headshots in this game. And also there's an accessibility setting that allows you to take off camera sway, which I would highly recommend because it's not difficulty specific, so you don't have to feel bad about that you're using it, and you'll never have any it's camera shake. I meant camera shake. So when you're using the long shot, there's no camera shake, and it's much better. It's easier and it's more playable, in my opinion. So there's 2 grenades up there as well, so if you want to pick those up, I've trimmed out a long cutscene over here, and I'm gonna stealth kill this first grenadier over here, and then focus on getting the nest sealed up and then the remaining grenadiers killed. These guys are very, very deadly. They they're the equivalent of the old game's shirtless enemy that had the shotgun. And they're called grenadiers, but until later in the game, until they become elites, they don't throw grenades. And I don't think they drop grenades ever either, so it's very, very peculiar. In fact, I don't think I get a grenade thrown at me until Act 3. So it's very peculiar that an enemy that is called a grenadier, somebody who specializes in grenades, neither throws nor drops grenades. So it's very, very peculiar. And I don't mind that I'm not getting grenades thrown at me. Hell, I don't like grenades getting thrown at me, but I found it peculiar too that I was not getting any thrown at me until the third act. Very, very peculiar. But speed mantling up surfaces is back from the fourth game, as well as vaulting while running. That's back in the game too. And one of the changes that I noticed immediately was, do you know how in the other Gears, when you aimed the reticle over an enemy, your white reticle turned red all the time, without exception? Well, in this game, it doesn't do that anymore. They've removed that for a system where they have two different colors to signify getting a critical hit on an enemy and hitting an enemy when you've got an active reload. So when your hit marker goes red, that means you've hit an enemy in a critical area and done more damage to him. If you've hit an enemy and you see that orange hit marker, it means that you've hit an enemy and you've hit him with an active reload attack, which is kind of pointless to a player like myself because I'm always looking at the active reload when I go to get it. I don't just do it by memory or muscle memory. I'm actually looking in the upper right and following it with my eyes. So I know when I get an active reload, so I really don't need it reinforced to me. It's a little redundant to me personally, but I wish they would have given you the option to revert to how it was, where it was just more simple, just white and red. And then, of course, you notice that the hit marker expands outward when you get a kill. It's a red marker when you get a critical hit and you kill them, and it's an orange outward red marker when you kill them with an active reload. So it's giving you some more information than normal, but I just prefer the simpler way that it was before, and I would be lying if I didn't say that it wasn't something that vexed me continually while I played the game. I really get bothered by it, because when enemies are far away from you, normally when you play this game, when you hit enemies, it's just, before you start hitting them, I should say, the reticle doesn't make any change. So from a far back distance that I'm sitting in my seat, I can't tell when I'm aiming and I'm aiming my reticle and it's over an enemy. It doesn't make any change when that happens because of the new system. Whereas in the old game, regular aiming was just white, and then if you were over an enemy, it was red, and you can tell. And they give you so many choices that I'm surprised that they don't let you do that, because it wouldn't affect the gameplay, and people can just have it different ways. I mean, they've got all these settings for color blinded mode and all these weird settings, but they don't, give you the option to do that. It's very disappointing. And other than that, it is a good game, but you will hear me mock it quite a bit, calling it Gay 5, and asking why they removed the words of war, of war, a lot, and things like that, and lambasting the new system of aiming and the reticle changing colors and things like that. But anyway, let's talk this fight over here, because this first enemy, I swear, his AI is broken. It's just absolutely broken. 50-50 whether he turns around on you. And he turns around on me even when I sneak up to it, and I don't even snap into cover from far away. So it's normally not like this. This guy here is just absolutely broken. But once he's out of the picture, then you can start hitting people the way you normally do. There is a boom shot right up ahead. You see that one? And then 2 holes spawn at the same time. That one right there. If not the same time, maybe 5 seconds after the next one. But there's also a hole that spawns up and to the left, far in the distance where I was just aiming. There's a hole that spawns over there. And I've never been able to hit it with a grenade. You might be able to hit it with a boom shot. But if you try to get that boom shot before you kick off the engagement, you need to make sure that that first guy is at least killed, because you don't have any upgrades for Jack for stealth yet. And there is an upgrade to stealth fetch, but you know, you're not going to get that for quite some time. So when you've cleared off the main enemies over here and sealed the holes as well as you can, that no more is coming out, you're going to get two of these horn-winding bastards over here, these grenadiers. They come from the left and the right, or a combination of the two. I've set up a couple of frag grenades to down them, because they have no problem about putting you down from distances that are usually not very fair, given that they have a shotgun and I'm pretty far away from them. I get irked about it. But this game is really nice. But the next part, though, gosh, I've done this chapter a lot of times, right? But I ended up breaking a sequence coming up because I didn't go through the numbers. Now there's a Harambe coming up next in the next fight. Well, a carrier, if you will, but I call them Harambes. And I planted 3 grenades on Harambe and killed him so fast that the support troops didn't have a chance to come in. And then when I got to the next engagement, the fight would not progress beyond the Scion and a couple of drones. I did not get the juvies, and the fight never would able to finish. Even after like 10 minutes of waiting, the music was there, and I could not proceed because I had broke the system of what they want you to do. They want you to wait until the reinforcements come, and the best thing to do is to use Dell as a mule to carry your custom lancer if you want to keep using it. Pick up the boom shot and then go into the next checkpoint with the long shot and the boom shot, because Harambe works very well with the boom shot, and you can get up to 16 rounds with the long shot. And the wonderful thing about this game, something that hasn't happened since Gears 1, I don't think, is that from standard weapon boxes you get ammunition for the long shot. On smaller boxes you just get like one or two. On the medium ones you get like 3, and then you can get up to 5 with the bigger boxes. But Harambe himself won't spawn until you've killed these 3 enemies, and then you go down there. So you want to kill these enemies from up here, and then go down there, move up ways, and then Harambe will spawn. I'm going to put 1 frag grenade on Harambe, and I'm going to just play it by the way the game wants it. But for some reason, you can get away with a lot of grenade planting that you normally can't on Harambes. And this Harambe himself doesn't have too much life, so he dies quickly, especially when you get the reinforcements, because they'll just melt him. If you put the grenade on his back or on the side of him, he won't grab you as much as he normally does. But what you normally do is you wait for him to open up. I'm going to select Guardians. You wait for him to open up, you shoot him once, and then you shoot him again to destroy the cankers. But it was pretty sad that I broke it. And how did I know that it was this that caused the next fight to break? It's pretty simple, because there's some dialogue that happens about the reinforcements not being around anymore because they got killed. So I'm giving it a lot of time to all transpire so that there's no problems. And I'm going to stay back here because it's safe. There are the pods. I chose these ones here because they're very effective at killing him. They both have tri-shots, the backups, and it doesn't matter what ones you pick, you're not going to be able to use the tri-shot. So anything that you might need as far as weapons, there's a room coming up that has a lot of good stuff in it. Before you leave, there are some grenades over here to the right. I'm going to give back the boom shot to Dell because the boom shot is really not... What the fuck is happening to that piece of flesh? Jeez. And how many times did I use the boom shot right there? Just a couple times. I didn't even really need to bring it down here. And you're not going to see me moving through all of the corridors up here. I'm going to go directly to the next fight. But if you do need any more frag grenades, there's some stuff coming up. We have a drop shot. Is it a drop shot? No, it's not a drop shot. It's a Scion with God something. I don't know what he has. But the fight that's coming up is the one that was always breaking for me. And normally when you get there, you'll see that there's juvies, but if you don't get those juvies, man, something's definitely wrong. Here we go, right over here. Oh, this is something too that you're going to hear me complain countless times in this walkthrough. It's probably the worst thing that happens in this game is that the weapons that you bring into a checkpoint and the abilities that you have selected to, everything that you have is saved permanently when you get to a checkpoint. And each time you reload, it just reverts back to whatever you cross that checkpoint line. Oh, it's a buzzkill. It's a buzzkill sign. He's using what this game is what I think about it. But they could have fixed this problem. I mean, why is that a problem that you know, isn't it good that they save what you have when you get to the checkpoint? Yeah, but there's a lot of times when you get to a checkpoint and you realize that it would be much better to have something else equipped when you start. Another weapon equipped, another ability selected, and it gets into this thing where even though there's a quick select, which the game is going to show you how to use, I think on 1-4, it's still not enough. The amount of inconvenience is just it's something where I have to restart chapters sometimes. I have to reset from previous checkpoints because it's so irritating to have to continually switch my weapons and my abilities to what I desire them to be. So the fix that they could have used is that whatever you die with, you respawn with those items and those abilities selected, so that you don't have to constantly worry that when you get into a checkpoint, you know, am I going to have what I want selected? Now you might say, well, that's too much for the game to remember. You know, it can't keep remembering what you die with. That's too much to ask. No, that's not too much to fucking ask. Games have been doing that for a long time. This game just had a lot of oversights about that. You know, it has so many issues about things that will never get addressed, probably, about where to put a checkpoint, how a person should be spawned into the area. It's not too much to remember something that he selects after he dies. Because if it was like the way I said, where it would just remember what you had equipped when you died, then everybody would be served. Both the people that like restarting with what they got to the checkpoint with, and for those who like to assess an area and then change their mind about what they want. So it's incredibly disappointing. Because you get into this fearfulness about crossing a checkpoint. And I'm the type of person that I like to spawn and immediately get to work doing what I want to do. If I have to switch my weapons and if I have to switch my abilities, it's a big drag. And sometimes when I start and get respawned, there's a time issue that I have to do things in a hurry, otherwise I can't get things finished. I can't rush an area that, when I'm starting out having to do all these alterations. So it's a huge issue for me because it makes the game a lot less playable, and I have to really think like way in advance of getting to a place what sort of position I'm going to get stuck in, because it's just too bad, I guess, but here we have a room with a Scion and a bunch of Imagos. Flanking them is a really good idea. And any groups of enemies, just throw a frag into them. They shouldn't last too long. And then when you finish this, you want to have Jack go do whatever he does with the machine. Although he's called Dave at this point. He turns into Jack at some other point. I'm not sure. I don't watch the cutscenes. They're too much of a time killer. But on this next section, you're going to be going up a hangar over here. And what you want to do first is destroy these pods here, because at a certain point when you get up where you need to go, the game's going to shake the area and you can't move because some fire is going to get expelled from somewhere, and then you are going to have a hard time dealing with those juvies if they're coming at you and you can't move. So I think the only two pods in question are those ones that I just destroyed over to the right, those two. And then I like to use the pulse and just just do all the decimating of enemies down here that I need to. And the nice thing about this game is that that right there, I didn't have any enemies or anybody left to get in my way right there. But this is a long section, and you're gonna have to do this entire sequence without a checkpoint, but it's quite nice to be able to snipe everybody at first and then just go on your merry way up the stairs. You are going to get accosted by 1 to 3 grenadiers, and they can and will put you down like a goddamn animal, so you need to be very careful about them. The thing I don't like about the grenadiers is that they can kill you from distances that a shotgun shouldn't be one-shotting you at. That's my main problem with it. I have a big grievance with it. But as you come up here, you're not going to have any cover except for the level of this floor down here. So when you spawn this guy, you want to make sure that you can get these headshots, or you want to definitely go back as far as you possibly can and get behind cover. And another thing that I hate about this game, and it was true of the fourth game too, and I think also the third game, so it's not anything new, but they've removed the third-person corner camera trick, where if you want to stay in cover and put the gun reticle out of cover and keep yourself, safe, they've compromised that. You can still do it in some instances, but it's by no means how it was in the first game. And one game that I can compare it to would be Uncharted 1 on Brutal, the way that you could do that and survive. You don't have to do that, obviously, to survive on this game, but they do definitely want you in cover, and they don't want you to have that advantage. So when you get up here, after a couple of slashes, you'll kill these juvies, and you may have noticed too that there are no weapon-specific melee attacks anymore. There's just uses of the knife, which I detest too, but which I understand couldn't be an option because it would be game altering for different folks. Different folks would have different experiences. But that is the end of the first chapter of Act 1. I will see you in the much briefer Chapter 2. And as we make our way through the campaign, I would like you to continue to take care, even if we don't hear from one another. And until we do so, please take care.